Welcome back, friends. In this episode, we leave the hustle and bustle of the big city of Ho Chi Minh City and head south to the Mekong Delta.
Here we visit the famous floating market, go for a bike ride, do some taste testing at the fruit farm. So throw on your flip-flops, come relax with us. It was time to escape the big city for a couple of nights before we left Vietnam and just to recuperate from what was a pretty busy group tour from Hanoi all the way down to Saigon. The Mekong Delta sounded like just the place for that. Now, did we actually relax and do nothing? Of course not. There was too much to see and do.
We took the sleeper bus from Ho Chi Minh City to Can Tho. This was a great way to travel, even though we were traveling midday and didn't need to sleep. It was still just super relaxing, and it was about $10 Canadian each way, so really cheap. Took us about 2.5, 3 hours. I think it was scheduled for 4, so it worked out really well. Our hotel, the Victoria Can Tho Resort, was extra nice. We kind of splurged here. I think we spent around 115 Canadian, but this was a super nice hotel. It was dated back to kind of when Vietnam was a French colony, and they had really well maintained the original features of the hotel. So it was just a really nice place to stay.
We were getting even closer to Christmas at this point and really appreciated the Christmas decorations around the hotel, including the pretty large Christmas tree they had built out of the traditional cone hats from Vietnam. Of course, we couldn't just relax here, and the big draw is the floating market, which is fairly famous. Unfortunately, the market opens very early, not Holly's favorite time of day, but we were up and on the water for our tour before the sun rose.
5 a.m., I believe, is what time we were on the boat. This is a pretty neat thing to see, and it's kind of going away. This was originally the way that farmers got their goods to market. They didn't have great roads, and so the waterways were the best way to do it. They used the waterways to get to the main area of the city, and then smaller boats would come in and purchase the items. And so now the roads are getting better, the market is shrinking. A lot of tourists kind of come to see it, so it's kind of a lot of tourists and not as many sellers, but still really neat. And we did get to see the transactions happening, so that was pretty cool. Our guide kind of referred to it a bit as the sinking market because it's gone from kind of hundreds of sellers to maybe more like 80.
So this is a wholesale market. Tourists don't actually buy things here because you buy by the kilogram at least. So this is where folks come from the city to purchase wholesale and then take these items back for their stalls in the marketplace back in town. So one of the neat features on all the boats was you had a big pole at the front of your boat, and you would hang on your pole what merchandise you had available for sale, whether it was pineapples or sweet potatoes or watermelons. And so we had a chance, like you say, to see some of the folks coming around and doing their shopping, picking up their items by the kilogram. We also had a chance to have some breakfast on the water. This woman was doing a brisk business off of her boat, selling pho. All the tourists rolling up here made it a little bit interesting to try and spoon that into your mouth while you were rocking away. But a very fun stop there, as well as a stop on one of the boats to sample some pineapple. Here's a few more shots of the floating market.
After the market, our boat took us up some smaller waterways, which were pretty neat. This is kind of what I thought of the Mekong Delta. We did a couple different stops. We stopped once at a small kind of rice noodle making factory. This was pretty neat. As you know, from Vietnam, earlier in the tour, we had some skills. So we were able to put those to use. However, they never hired us, so we kept going. And finally, we stopped on the boat and got off the boat and got on some bicycles. This is pretty neat because you can bike kind of these paths right beside some of the waterways. So really scenic, really flat and easy, and lots more to see.
And the occasional blast of karaoke just at random coming out of these small bars in the countryside, even mid-afternoon. They love their karaoke here. Among our stops was a quick visit to a rice paddy where we learned just how manual the job of growing and harvesting rice is, and also what a pest rats are to your rice paddy. Apparently they are also delicious though, and we saw this fella had been trapped, and our guide told us he was probably going to be somebody's supper.
Our next stop was at a fruit farm. We had some very delicious fresh fruit here. The dragon fruit that is kind of red fleshed rather than the one you're used to seeing that is white is really tasty, just really juicy. We also had some really neat kind of small apples, some pear-like fruit, some mango, of course, that was delicious. Really nice, kind of refreshing stop.
Also, a stop to a boutique cocoa plantation. I really knew nothing about where cocoa comes from, so they took us through the process of that from harvesting, drying, roasting, and extraction. So, a nice visit there as well. Our final stop on the cycling tour was a famous banyan tree that's about 150 years old. It covers over 3,000 square meters, and it's famous for being the supposed meeting place of the Viet Cong during the war because its foliage provided really good cover where they couldn't be seen. But it's also a sacred tree and symbolic of the resilience of the Vietnamese people.
Well, we came to the Mekong Delta to relax and chill out before we moved on. Although we did do quite a bit here, we did also find some time by the pool and some time to work on videos and some travel planning. So a really good visit, great hotel, fun Christmas decorations, perfect for our little getaway.
We haven't done some stats and facts for you in quite some time, so here's a few for you now. At this point, as we leave Vietnam, we've now visited 7 countries from Germany right through to Vietnam now. A Mekong River fact for you, it's about 4,300 kilometers long. It's about 500 kilometers longer than the Mississippi. You'll recall that back in our Lao episode, we were riding on the Mekong on the slow boat. Here we are, 1,100 kilometers away, still hanging out on the Mekong.
We have had a great adventure in Vietnam over the last 3 weeks, but it is time to move on. We have a flight booked to Phnom Penh in Cambodia, where we start our third G Adventures tour.
This one gets off on a bit of a somber note as we visit the killing fields and learn about the Khmer Rouge. But from there, we take off on a 14-day adventure all through the country. One of my favorite stops yet. This one's fascinating. We also mentioned earlier that rat is apparently quite delicious. Do we know that firsthand? You've got to hit subscribe to find out. We'll see you soon.